Alicia.
Jared, always good to be here, ready for another deep dive.
Absolutely. And hello to you tuning into Vibrations and Manifestations. I have my coffee, my notes, and my absolute favorite cozy slippers ready to go today.
Oh, I am right there with you. I've got my tea, and I'm so ready to get into this one.
Yeah, it's a really important morning for a deep dive. And I actually want to start by asking you, the person listening to us right now,
Right.
to just imagine waking up tomorrow morning.
Okay, yeah. Setting the scene.
Right, so your eyes haven't even adjusted to the light yet, but your hand is already doing that automatic, like that muscle memory reach toward the nightstand.
Oh, man, the dreaded morning phone grab. We all do it.
We all do it. You grab the glowing rectangle, you pull it into the bed, squinting against that harsh blue light, and you swipe down, and immediately, just the data floods in.
Right, it's just a wall of noise.
Exactly. 3 new text messages.
Yeah.
A dozen notifications on whatever social app you checked right before falling asleep. Maybe an email from a coworker. Your smart speaker in the kitchen is probably already blinking, just waiting to read you the weather.
So you are, objectively speaking, completely surrounded by voices.
Yes. The algorithm is basically feeding you endless signals, and it's screaming at you, you are plugged in, you are connected.
And yet, and I think this is the core of what we're talking about today, as you sit there on the edge of the bed, absorbing all of that rapid-fire data, there is this very distinct, incredibly quiet ache right in the center of your chest.
Yeah, that slow burn realization.
Exactly. It hits you before your feet even touch the floor, despite all those digital pings, despite the likes and the sheer visibility of your life. Your actual nervous system is just whispering, does anyone really know what I'm carrying today?
Wow. Yeah, that physical sensation right there, that huge discrepancy between the sheer amount of data we receive and the actual amount of safety we feel, that is exactly why we are here today.
It's the central paradox of our time.
It really is.
Yeah.
So if you are listening to this right now, I want to officially welcome you to the capstone of our entire exploration into disconnection. This is a very immersive, interactive workshop style today.
Just you, sitting in the room with us.
Just us figuring out this weird, intelligent age we live in. Because, we are gorging on the social equivalent of zero-calorie artificial sweetener right now.
That is such a good way to put it.
Right. Like, we are connected everywhere,
Yeah.
but we feel understood literally nowhere.
And the zero-calorie sweetener analogy is actually completely scientifically accurate.
Wait, really? How so?
Yeah, so think about it. When you drink a diet soda, the artificial sweetener hits the sweet receptors on your tongue. Your brain registers that signal and it thinks, great, caloric energy is arriving.
So it fires up the metabolism.
Exactly, it prepares the metabolism. But then, no actual calories ever arrive. The body is tricked. And the biological result is that you actually end up feeling even hungrier than before.
Oh, wow. That makes so much sense.
Right, and that is exactly what our modern digital connections are doing to our social biology. Being known like, being visible, having followers, people knowing your job title or seeing what you ate last night, it hits the receptor.
But it's empty calories.
Yes. It entirely lacks the nutritional density of being actually understood.
Let's define the mechanism of that difference, because I think it's massive for our listeners. What exactly changes in the human body when we cross that bridge from merely being known to, actually being understood?
Well, when you are simply known, your brain is mostly just processing an information exchange. It's largely a cognitive neocortical function.
Okay, so it's just data.
Just data. But when you are understood, when you are truly seen by someone who recognizes your emotional state, who validates it, and who offers you a sense of safety without you having to perform for them, that completely bypasses the higher reasoning centers.
It goes deeper.
Right. It goes straight to the limbic system. Your brain literally signals the nervous system to stand down. It means you are supported. It means you are safe from the evolutionary threat of isolation.
Which ties perfectly into why so many of you listening come to manifestation work in the very first place.
Yes, absolutely.
People start this practice looking for incredibly tangible, surface-level things.
Yeah.
You might be focusing all your energy on manifesting, like a specific dollar amount, or a promotion, or a romantic partner.
Or just a life that feels a little bit easier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you drill down beneath those desires, and really get honest with yourself, the root longing almost never has anything to do with the money or the job title.
Never.
The root longing is this desperate desire to feel supported. It is the craving to stop carrying the crushing weight of your life completely alone.
So to answer the overarching question of this deep dive today, like what is the human animal actually missing right now? The answer is not more contact.
No, we have a toxic overabundance of contact.
Right. What we are starved for, what we desperately need are meaningful circles.
Okay, so I want to take us entirely out of the modern context for a second here, just to look at the physics of how human beings were actually designed to operate.
Oh, I love where you're going with this.
Think about a traditional rural barn raising from a couple hundred years ago. I want you, the listener, to mentally put yourself in that exact environment right now.
Close your eyes if you need to.
Imagine standing in the middle of a massive, empty dirt field at dawn. It's freezing. The frost is thick on the grass, your breath is totally visible in the air, and you are standing there holding a blueprint for a barn.
And this isn't some vanity project either.
No, not at all.
This structure is the literal difference between life and death for the coming winter.
Exactly. It has to house the livestock, it has to protect the grain, and it basically guarantees the survival of your entire family.
But there's a problem.
A huge problem. The physical reality of that blueprint in your hands is biologically impossible for your singular human body to execute.
It's just too big.
The timber is way too heavy for one spine to lift. The joinery is too complex. If you try to build in total isolation, relying purely on your own quote-unquote hustle, you will simply break your body and fail.
So the environment demands a response that supersedes the individual.
Right. And what happens? As the sun crests the horizon, you hear the sound of wagons. Neighbors start arriving from miles away.
And they don't just bring passive well wishes.
No, it's an entire kinetic ecosystem activating.
Mm-hmm.
One neighbor brings a wagon full of milled lumber. Another brings the heavy iron tools that you don't own.
Someone who maybe doesn't have tools brings brute physical strength.
Exactly. And someone else arrives with these massive steaming pots of stew and fresh bread. Children are running underfoot, generating heat and energy. Someone pulls out a fiddle.
It's a whole community moving as one.
And by sundown, through the friction and the shared kinetic energy of 30 people moving together, a structure stands that did not exist that morning.
What I find so incredibly moving about that historical reality is the misdirection of what was actually being created.
Ooh, what do you mean?
Well, we look back at a barn raising and we assume the manifestation was the barn.
Sure, the physical building.
But the wooden structure was merely a byproduct. The true manifestation, the actual survival-grade creation, was the circle of people that formed around the shared intention.
Wow. That is powerful. But somewhere along the line, we completely abandoned that model.
We really did.
We entered this hyper-individualized, optimized modern culture, and we just started treating every single dream like a solo project. We isolated the hustle.
We glorified the lone wolf.
The self-made billionaire, the
Yeah.
person who grinds in total silence at 4 a.m. And I want to challenge that entire framework right now for our listeners.
Please do.
If your manifestation journey feels chronically exhausting-like, if you are perpetually burnt out and bitter while trying to build your vision, it is highly likely that your dream is completely correct, but the container you are forcing it into is just way too lonely.
That is such a vital distinction to make because the vision matters, yes. The energetic alignment and the belief are crucial. But we have to talk about the physical channel.
How it actually shows up.
Exactly. How does the universe actually deliver the opportunity? How does the breakthrough physically arrive in the three-dimensional world?
It almost always arrives through other people.
Exclusively through the conduit of other human beings. A new client is a person. A medical healing protocol is delivered by a practitioner. Support, encouragement, capital, it all flows through human networks.
Right. We were biologically and structurally never meant to build a life in a vacuum.
Never. Independence is a highly functional trait, but when independence hardens into isolation, it becomes a cage.
The terrifying thing about that transition from independence to isolation is how incredibly quiet it is.
It sneaks up on you.
It doesn't happen overnight. It creeps in through thousands of tiny, seemingly justifiable decisions to just handle things yourself.
Oh, I know that trap well.
Let me share a story that illustrates exactly how blinding this ego trap can be, because I lived it. I used to operate under this subconscious belief that receiving help was mathematically equal to being weak.
Yep, the classic overachiever defense mechanism.
If I couldn't fix a problem myself, my ego processed it as a catastrophic failure of my own capability. So I had a week a few years ago where the universe was just relentlessly dismantling my life.
One of those weeks where everything goes wrong.
Everything. And the grand finale was a pipe bursting directly under my kitchen sink late at night.
Oh, no. And let me guess, you are not a plumber.
I am absolutely not a plumber. But there I was, covered in freezing, rusty water, stubbornly fighting this pipe with a pair of pliers that were entirely the wrong size.
Oh, Jared, I mean, oh, I can just picture that. The stubbornness.
It was ridiculous. I was shivering, bleeding from scraping my knuckles on the cabinet, and absolutely refusing to call a professional or ask a friend for help.
Because calling for help would mean admitting the situation was bigger than you.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was this completely irrational battle of wills. And then a friend of mine who just intuitively knew the kind of week I was having completely bypassed my defenses.
Thank goodness for friends like that.
Seriously, he didn't text me to ask, hey, do you need anything? Because he knew my automated response would be, nope, all good here.
Right, you would have totally blocked him.
I would have. He just showed up, he knocked, walked into my flooded kitchen holding a wrench and a cup of coffee, handed me the coffee, and literally slid under the sink.
Wow.
And the physiological reaction I had completely shocked me. My ego had convinced me that accepting his help would feel emasculating, but instead this massive somatic wave of relief just crashed over my entire nervous system.
Your body finally realized it was safe.
My shoulders dropped. My breathing slowed. Receiving that support didn't steal my power. It gave my exhausted power a safe place to rest.
Listening to you describe that sheer panic under the sink, it's making me realize my version of that wasn't a visible crisis at all. It was entirely internal.
What did that look like for you?
Well, there was a phase in my life where I had constructed this absolute fortress of hypercompetence. I was the rock for everyone.
Oh, the reliable one.
Exactly. I anticipated the problems at work. I managed the emotional landscape of my entire family. I ran the errands. I kept the calendar. And internally, I was carrying a suffocating amount of anxiety.
But no one knew.
No one. Because my default response to the world was always a bright, cheerful, I'm fine, I've got it.
You were using I'm fine as a cloaking device.
It was a Faraday cage for the soul. It kept the static out, sure, but it prevented any actual signal from reaching me. I thought I was protecting myself, you know? Like if I didn't lean on anyone, no one could drop me.
That makes so much logical sense when you're in survival mode.
Right. But the loneliness inside that competence was agonizing. And the moment the cage finally broke wasn't during a major life event. I was just standing in the pasta aisle at the grocery store on a Tuesday evening.
Just a completely mundane Tuesday.
Completely mundane. I was just staring blankly at these boxes of rigatoni, feeling the absolute crushing weight of trying to hold my entire life together single-handedly. And then my phone buzzed.
Who was it?
It was a text from an acquaintance. We weren't even particularly close at the time. The texter said, hey, how did that specific doctor's appointment go today? Also, I saved you a seat at the lecture tonight, but absolutely no pressure if you're too tired.
Oh, man. The specificity of that is what hits hard. The fact that they remembered the appointment.
Exactly. I stood there in aisle 4 and completely broke down crying. Not because it was some grand cinematic gesture, but because it pierced right through that I'm fine defense.
You were seen.
In that exact moment, I wasn't just known as the hyper-competent person who handles everything. I was truly understood as a fragile human being who might be exhausted, who might be scared about a doctor's appointment, and who might just need someone to save them a seat so they didn't have to fight for space.
That raises a really critical point about how we weaponize our own privacy.
Uh-huh.
There is a psychological concept that Arthur Brooks talks about, and he draws it from the life of Edgar Allan Poe. It perfectly explains why we do this to ourselves.
Yes, the Edgar Allan Poe syndrome.
It's so fascinating.
It really is. We all know Poe as this brilliant, macabre writer, right? The architect of the modern horror story. But historically, he was a profoundly, chronically lonely man. In 1829, he wrote a poem quite literally titled Alone.
And Brooks points out something devastating from his real life, right?
Yes. When Poe died, a local obituary noted that he had very few friends, primarily because he was a friend to very few.
Wait, so the isolation wasn't because society rejected his dark brilliance. The isolation was entirely self-generated.
Completely self-generated. He built the walls, and then he wrote agonizing poetry about how cold it was inside them.
Wow.
And Brooks uses this to explain a devastating cycle. When we feel disconnected or misunderstood, our instinct is to withdraw to protect ourselves. There is a concept in theology and philosophy called curvatus in se, which means curving inward on oneself.
Curving inward, I can physically picture that posture.
Right. When we are hurt, we curve inward. We cancel the dinner plans, we stop texting back, we sit alone in a dark room and binge watch television instead of risking the vulnerability of reaching out.
We withdraw to avoid the pain of rejection.
Exactly. But the biological tragedy is that the withdrawal itself generates the exact loneliness we are trying to escape.
It is a total biological glitch. It's like starving to death, but deciding to lock the pantry door from the inside to protect yourself from the disappointment of not finding your favorite food.
That is a brilliant way to phrase it.
So I really have to challenge you, the person listening right now. Look at your daily habits. Are you confusing privacy with protection?
That's a huge question.
You might be writing in your manifestation journal every single morning that you are ready for a big, expansive, abundant life. But if your physical behavior is screaming, "Stay away from me, I handle my own problems," the universe cannot deliver the goods.
It just can't.
You don't need to become less capable. You just urgently need to become more receivable.
And we really cannot overstate how deeply this impacts your physical body. This isn't just about feeling warm and fuzzy. To understand the stakes, we have to look at the Harvard study of adult development.
Oh, this is the absolute gold standard of longitudinal human research.
Unmatched in the history of science. It started in 1938. They took a group of Harvard sophomores and a group of teenagers from the poorest neighborhoods in Boston, and they tracked them, their spouses, and eventually their children for over 85 years.
That's through everything.
Yeah. Everything. Through wars, economic depressions, career heights, divorces, alcoholism, and aging. Robert Waldinger, the current director, looked at the mountains of data and distilled it into one staggering conclusion.
What was it?
The quality of your relationships is the single greatest predictor of your happiness, your physical health, and how long you will live.
Let's really dig into the mechanisms of that, because it sounds like a nice greeting card, but it's hard science. How does having a good friend actually change your cellular biology?
It all comes down to nervous system regulation and the stress cycle. Imagine you experience a massive stressor.
Like losing a client or a car accident.
Right, or a terrifying financial scare. Your body instantly shifts into a sympathetic nervous system state, the fight or flight response. Your amygdala sounds the alarm. Your adrenal glands flood your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline.
The heart rate spikes.
Exactly, and a systemic inflammation increases to prepare your body for physical damage. Now, that is a brilliant evolutionary response for outrunning a predator.
But terrible for a Tuesday afternoon in a cubicle.
Terrible, because if you go home to an empty apartment and you have no one to talk to, you just sit there and ruminate. The physiological alarm keeps ringing.
Your body just stays bathed in cortisol.
Yes. And over decades, that chronic inflammation physically breaks down your cardiovascular system and shortens your telomeres, which literally accelerates cellular aging.
But if you intercept that isolation...
Right. If you go home and you have someone who understands you, you sit on the couch, you vent about the terrifying day, and that person looks you in the eye and says, "I see you. That is incredibly unfair, and I am with you."
What happens biologically?
That exchange acts as a literal biological decelerator. The parasympathetic nervous system engages. The brain releases oxytocin, which signals the adrenals to halt cortisol production. The heart rate slows. The inflammation cools down.
Wow.
Feeling understood is a biological shield that protects your brain and your heart from the wear and tear of existence.
Which fundamentally breaks the capitalist myth of success. If you look at the empirical data on wealth, there is a baseline around like $75,000 to maybe $90,000 a year in the U.S., depending on cost of living, where your basic survival needs, housing, and food are securely met.
Right, the survival threshold.
Once you cross that threshold, accumulating more wealth, buying a bigger house, or acquiring more social media followers does absolutely nothing to move the baseline needle of your daily happiness.
Because your brain simply habituates to nicer things.
Exactly. The only variable that continues to compound and elevate your life satisfaction indefinitely is relational depth.
And the brain imaging proves exactly why. Arthur Brooks cites these fMRI studies that map what happens in the brain when we experience social connection versus isolation.
This is the part that blows my mind.
It's incredible. When you interact with someone and you feel truly understood, the ventral striatum lights up. That is the brain's core reward circuitry. It releases endogenous opioids. Feeling understood is, neurologically speaking, a highly pleasurable, chemically rewarding event.
But when you feel misunderstood...
When you feel chronically misunderstood or excluded, the brain activates the anterior insula.
Wait, isn't the anterior insula the exact same region that processes physical trauma?
Yes. That is the crazy part. If you break your leg or if you are socially ostracized, your brain lights up in the exact same geographic location.
So the brain does not distinguish between a broken femur and a broken heart.
But it doesn't. Evolutionarily, human beings survived by staying in the tribe. If you wandered away or if the tribe kicked you out, you were going to freeze or starve on the tundra.
So the brain evolved to treat social isolation as a life-threatening physical emergency.
Exactly, to force you to get back to the group.
But here is where the system gets entirely hijacked. We are living in the intelligent age, and our technology intercepts that ancient biological alarm system and completely scrambles the signal.
It acts as an intermediator. We feel the ache of isolation, so we pick up our phones, we send a text, we like a photo, and we get a tiny microscopic hit of dopamine.
It's just enough to briefly silence the alarm.
Right, but it completely blocks the actual full body release of oxytocin that only occurs through physical presence, eye contact, and vocal resonance.
Okay, I want to push back on this slightly, just to clarify the boundaries for our listeners of how our biology works.
Sure, let's hear it.
What if I'm eating dinner and I have my tablet propped up on the table and I am FaceTiming my sister who lives 3 states away? I'm looking at a screen, yes, but I'm looking at her face. Does the brain still register that as isolation? Does the digital screen block the oxytocin?
It's a great question, and the science here is fascinating. Video calls are vastly superior to text-based communication, but they still fall short of true physical presence because of microscopic latencies and the lack of joint attention.
Joint attention.
Yeah, so when you FaceTime, you aren't actually making eye contact. You are looking at the screen, and the camera is an inch above it. Your brain subconsciously registers that the gaze is slightly off.
Oh, that makes sense.
Furthermore, you aren't sharing the same physical environment, so your mirror neurons aren't syncing to the same ambient temperature, pheromones, or spatial acoustics. So yes, FaceTime provides a moderate neurochemical reward, but it does not fully replace the profound biological regulation of sitting in the same room, breathing the same air, and breaking bread together.
Which is why the boundaries around our devices have to be ruthless. The rule we have to implement is no screens during the first hour of the day, the last hour of the day, and absolutely no screens during meals.
The logic there is purely physiological. The first hour of the day programs your brain's baseline effect and dopamine threshold.
So if you flood it with high-velocity algorithmic content immediately, you just set a baseline of anxiety.
Precisely. And the last hour of the day requires melatonin production, which blue light destroys, and meals. Eating together is the most ancient, evolutionarily hardwired bonding ritual human beings have.
So looking at a phone while eating intercepts that.
It intercepts the exact neuropeptide exchange that helps you digest your food and regulate your nervous system. Your biology doesn't care how many followers you have. It only recognizes the safety of an unfiltered human face across the table.
So knowing all of this, knowing the biology, the history, and the incredibly high stakes, how do we actually rebuild this? If you are listening right now and realizing you are stuck deep in the Poe syndrome, curving inward, how do you actively reverse it?
We have to completely reframe how we view relationship maintenance. We usually treat friendships like a luxury or something that should just effortlessly happen if we have good vibes. We need to start treating it as social fitness.
Social fitness. I like that.
If you want a strong cardiovascular system, you go to the gym regularly. You don't do one push-up and expect to be fit for life. Similarly, you cannot go to one networking event, make one friend, and expect your social biology to sustain itself. It requires a daily, muscular practice.
Okay, so we're going to run through 3 specific workshop exercises right now to build that social fitness. Whether you are driving, doing the dishes, or sitting quietly, I want you to actively engage with this. Don't just listen. Map this out in your mind.
I love this. Let's start with exercise 1, the relationship energy map. I want you to imagine a piece of paper. On it, draw 3 concentric circles. A small circle in the very center, a medium ring around that, and a large ring on the outside.
I'll give you a second to picture that. Let's look at the inner circle first. This is the hardest one for many people. I want you to ask yourself, who makes you feel safe, honest, and completely unedited?
The no performance zone.
Exactly. Who is the person you call when the pipe bursts and you are shivering and covered in water? Who can you be an absolute mess in front of, knowing they won't judge your competence? Think about what it feels like to place a name in that circle right now.
Take a breath. It should feel like a deep exhale.
Now look at the middle circle. These are the people you really enjoy, but the connection hasn't crossed into total vulnerability yet.
Maybe it's a colleague you have fantastic banter with, or a friend from a run club, or another parent at your kid's school.
Right, you have great energy with them, and you frequently think, I'd actually love to know them on a deeper level. Picture their faces in that middle ring.
And finally, the outer circle. These are your weak ties, and they are incredibly important for community building. The barista who always remembers exactly how you like your coffee.
The neighbor you wave to but have never actually spoken to.
Exactly. The people whose names you see popping up in the same online courses you take. What spaces are you occupying that hold the latent, unactivated potential for connection? Just think about those faces for a second.
It's amazing how many people are actually in that outer ring when you stop and look.
I was working with a client a while ago who sat on my couch, crossed her arms, and swore to me, "I have absolutely no community. I am completely alone in this city."
I've heard that so many times.
But we sat down and systematically filled out this map, and suddenly she realized there were sparks of connection everywhere. There was the fitness instructor she joked with every Tuesday morning. There was a distant cousin who consistently replied to her social media stories.
Oh, wow.
There was a highly niche online gardening group she contributed to. The realization was shocking to her. Community wasn't entirely absent. The universe was already trying to weave the web. She just hadn't been tending to the sparks.
Which leads us directly into exercise 2, the one-thread practice. There is a brilliant framework by Mel Robbins regarding adult friendships. She points out that when we were kids, friendship was basically automated by proximity.
Right, you were shoved into a classroom or a dorm room together, so connection was inevitable.
Exactly. But as adults, that automated proximity vanishes. If you want connection, you have to manufacture the proximity. So your challenge today, before your head hits the pillow, is to strengthen one single thread from your map. Just one.
And it does not need to be a grand, sweeping gesture. You don't have to plan a dinner party. Just send a text to someone in your middle circle that says, "Hey, I saw this article and made me think of that conversation we had."
Or go to a coffee shop, sit at the community table instead of the corner booth, and introduce yourself to the person next to you.
Or leave a 30-second voice note for a friend you haven't spoken to in 6 months, simply saying, "No need to reply to this. I just wanted you to hear my voice and know I love you."
But the absolute key here, and this is the part that terrifies the fiercely independent, isolated manifestors, is that you must go first.
Yes. You have to initiate.
You cannot sit alone in your apartment feeling resentful and abandoned because no one is inviting you out. You have to be the one who extends the invitation.
You have to risk the vulnerability hangover.
Yes, let people be busy. Let the timing be wrong. Let yourself be rejected occasionally. But you have to generate the initial energy.
And when you do generate that energy and you find yourself physically in front of someone, how do you move the needle from just catching up to actually understanding them? That is exercise 3, the understanding question.
This one is a game changer.
We have to completely eliminate the phrase, "How are you?" from our vocabulary.
How are you is honestly the most useless string of words in the English language. It is a dead-end street.
Totally. It invites a purely autopilot reflex response.
You say, "How are you?" They say, "I'm fine, just super busy you." You say, "Same, hanging in there."
You've exchanged words, but absolutely zero human truth has been transacted.
Exactly. If your goal is to make someone feel deeply understood, you have to ask questions that bypass the autopilot and invite their actual current reality into the space.
So what do we ask instead?
The next time you sit down with someone, try asking, "What has been taking up the most space in your mind this week?" Ooh, that is such a disruptive question. It forces them to pause and actually scan their internal landscape.
Or try asking, what do you wish someone understood about this specific season of your life? I have watched people's physical posture completely collapse in relief when asked that question.
I can imagine.
The tension leaves their neck, they soften because you have just handed them explicit permission to take off the heavy armor of, "I'm fine."
I want to add a powerful psychological hack to this, returning to Arthur Brooks's research. When you are feeling isolated, your limbic system will lie to you. It will tell you that the safest thing to do is to cancel your plans, shut down your phone, and cocoon in a dark room.
It's that curving inward again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brooks calls the antidote the opposite signal strategy. When you feel that intense, overwhelming urge to withdraw, you must recognize it as a biological glitch, and you must force yourself to do the exact opposite.
You have to get aggressively curious about someone else.
It's the principle of acting your way into a new way of feeling, rather than waiting to feel like acting.
I love that.
If you feel painfully misunderstood, go out of your way to deeply understand someone else. Ask them the hard questions. There is incredible data showing that simply asking follow-up questions makes you 9% more likable in the eyes of the speaker.
Because you are hijacking their ventral striatum.
Yes, you are giving them the opioid hit of being understood, and their brain wires that pleasure directly to your presence. You literally open the door to your own connection by being the one willing to hold it open for someone else.
This brings us to a highly necessary pivot, because I know exactly what is happening in the minds of some listeners right now.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
You are listening and thinking, I understand the science, I understand the map, I'm trying to build community, but I keep hitting a wall, it isn't working.
Which means it is time to enter manifestation debug mode. We need to examine the specific energetic friction that is stalling the process.
Let's isolate the pattern of, I want support, but I actively block the channels.
We have to clear that static if we want to tune into the magic. Let's talk about the archetype of the private manifester.
Oh, this is a big one. This is the individual who is doing an immense amount of personal development work. Their daily routine is flawless.
Right, they journal for 30 minutes every morning.
Their vision board is perfectly curated. They repeat their affirmations in the mirror. They are diligently healing their inner child and doing all the shadow work.
But they are executing all of this in absolute airtight secrecy.
Yes. They never let a single human being in their physical reality see the messy, unpolished process of what they are trying to build. When the pressure mounts and they feel overwhelmed, they disappear.
They ghost their group chats.
They secretly test the people around them, waiting for someone to intuitively guess their pain and prove they care enough before they will risk sharing that truth.
And then after 6 months of this grueling solitary confinement, they throw their hands up, look at the sky, and scream, "Universe, why am I not receiving any support? I am doing all the work. I am vibrating so high."
The frustration they feel is incredibly valid and painful, but the debug answer is a very harsh truth.
The harsh truth is that your manifestation is not blocked because you have a lack of belief. It is not blocked because you didn't visualize the exact shade of the car or the exact layout of the office.
No.
Your manifestation is blocked by a total lack of relationship pathways. You are out in the yard begging the universe to send help, to send a breakthrough, to send an opportunity, while simultaneously building a 10-foot concrete wall to keep out the exact human beings the universe is deploying to assist you.
The universe does not operate through abstract magic. It operates through the physical channels of the three-dimensional world.
It uses people.
Always. Your breakthrough arrives through the acquaintance who casually mentions your name in a room full of decision makers. It arrives through the neighbor who offers to watch your kids for 3 hours so your nervous system can finally rest. If you are entirely closed off to people, you are entirely closed off to the manifestation.
So we need to do some real-time, active self-inquiry right now. I'm going to ask 3 questions. Do not overthink them. Just notice the very first uncomfortable truth that bubbles up in your chest.
Let's hear them.
Where in your life are you begging the universe for support while actively refusing the human support that is already standing right in front of you?
Just let that question turn over in your mind. Notice the resistance.
Where have you fundamentally confused fierce independence with self-imposed isolation?
And finally, who is the one person in your life who has consistently shown up, who has already earned a little more access to the reality of what you are going through, but you are still keeping them locked outside the gate?
The paradigm shift here has to be absolute. You have to rewrite your foundational internal narrative. You must transition from, "I have to prove to everyone that I am strong enough to survive this alone," to, "I am openly available for aligned support, I am ready for safe connection, and I am capable of reciprocal care."
You have to physically signal to the universe that the bridge is down and the channels are open.
Which brings us perfectly into our dedicated reflection segment. This is where we anchor all these concepts into your actual life. Treat these 4 prompts as diagnostic tools for your emotional landscape.
We aren't looking for logical, sanitized answers here. We are looking for the raw truth of your current ecosystem. Grab a pen and write these down, or simply let them echo in your mind as we discuss them.
Prompt number 1. Where am I widely visible but rarely understood?
Look critically at where you perform the illusion of connection. For many, this is a highly curated social media presence. You are constantly posting updates, constantly reacting to other people's stories, constantly maintaining a visible avatar of your life.
But you're hiding.
You are technically in contact with hundreds of people every day, but you are actively using that visibility to hide in plain sight. You are projecting an image to avoid the vulnerability of being known.
Right. Okay, prompt number 2. Who helps my body feel calmer when I am around them?
I think this is the most vital metric of all because it entirely bypasses the ego. Your ego cares about social status, or who is the most entertaining in a dinner party, or who has the most lucrative networking connections.
But your nervous system doesn't care about any of that.
Your nervous system only responds to safety. Who is the person whose mere physical presence literally causes your shoulders to drop an inch? Who makes your breathing slow down? That is your biological truth.
So good. Prompt number 3. If my ultimate dream had a circle around it, who would need to be sitting in that circle?
Think back to the freezing field and the barn raising we talked about. Your dream, if it is large enough, requires an ecosystem. Before the physical evidence of your manifestation ever materializes, you have to assemble the crew.
You will need a mentor who has navigated the terrain before.
You will need a peer who is in the mud and the trenches right alongside you. You will need a helper to manage the practical details. And above all, you desperately need a believer.
The person who acts as the vault for your vision on the days when your own faith entirely collapses.
Exactly. And finally, prompt number 4. What specific burden would become immediately lighter if I permanently stopped trying to manifest everything completely alone?
Wow. Just let that one sit for a second.
We really need to move this from intellectual understanding into somatic integration. Knowing the science is one thing, but your body needs to feel the reality of what it means to be supported.
So how do we do that?
I invite you to participate in a guided visualization with me. Wherever you are right now, unless you're operating a vehicle, let your posture physically change. Drop the tension in your jaw. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Take a deep, expanding breath into your lower belly and exhale, consciously stepping away from the frantic noise of mass connection.
Doing it right now with you.
Imagine that you are standing in the very center of a massive, chaotic, futuristic digital city. The sky above you is thick with flashing screens and notifications. Thousands of voices are overlapping, speaking at double speed, creating a wall of static.
It's overwhelming.
The pace of the environment is frantic, breathless. It looks incredibly busy, but as you stand there, you realize the air feels entirely hollow. You are surrounded by millions of signals, but you are completely, devastatingly alone. Now, shift your gaze downward, right at your feet. Cutting through the concrete and the neon, you notice a narrow path illuminated by a warm, soft amber light. It is leading away from the noise. You step onto it. With every single step you take down this path, the digital static begins to fade.
It gets quieter.
You follow the amber light out of the frenetic city, walking until you reach a quiet, rustic room at the edge of a quiet forest. You reach out, grasp the heavy iron handle of the wooden door, and step inside. The air in this room is immediately different. It is still, thick, and profoundly peaceful.
I can almost feel the warmth of the room.
In the very center of the room sits a solid, time-worn wooden table. On the table, there is a single, brightly flickering candle, a leather journal, a simple glass of water, and a small arrangement of empty chairs. You walk over and pull out the head chair. You sit down, feeling the solid, uncompromising support of the wood beneath your spine. And then, slowly, you watch as the heavy door opens again. One by one, people begin to cross the threshold. This is not an audience. This is not a crowd demanding a performance. This is a small, deeply intentional, fiercely protective circle.
Look closely at the faces illuminated by that candlelight. Some of these faces are deeply familiar to you, the people who have loved you consistently through your darkest seasons. But some of the faces are people you haven't even met yet in the physical world.
Your future mentors, your upcoming collaborators.
Yes, the deep friendships that are currently making their way towards you through the energetic web. As each person takes a seat at the table, simply observe how your nervous system responds. The armor drops. No one at this table is asking you to prove your worth. No one wants the polished, optimized, perfect version of you. They only want your truth.
It's complete acceptance.
Watch the quiet exchange of energy around the wood. One person leans over and brings a wave of laughter, instantly shattering the heavy tension you've been carrying in your chest for months. Another person sits quietly beside you, projecting an absolute, unshakable calm that steadies your erratic heartbeat. Across the table, someone looks at you with a fierce, unwavering belief, holding the vision of your future with complete certainty. And then you reach deep into yourself and you place your own gift in the center of the table, your raw, unedited, authentic presence.
Feel the profound physical safety of being held within this circle. As you sit with them, breathing the same air, allow these truths to anchor deep into your cellular memory. I am allowed to be fully known.
I'm allowed to be deeply understood.
I am allowed to boldly receive support.
I do not have to build the architecture of my life alone.
Look at the solitary candle in the center of the table. Notice how the light in the room actually grows brighter and warmer as each new person adds their specific energetic signature to this space. It proves the fundamental truth that the light was never, ever meant to be generated by one person alone.
Never.
Take one final expansive breath in, absorbing the warmth of the room. And as you exhale, let the image dissolve and return your awareness to your physical space. Notice the gravity holding you. Notice the baseline of safety that is available to your body right now.
What you're feeling right now is the physical sensation of biological and energetic alignment. As we bring this deep dive to a close, let's quickly recap the immense territory we have traversed today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. We dissected the great paradox of our era, how frictionless, infinite digital contact completely fails to cure the ancient human ache of being misunderstood. We dove into the hard, undeniable neuroscience of the 85-year Harvard study, proving that social fitness and vulnerable relationships are not a luxury. They are the literal biological bedrock that regulates our immune systems and protects our brains from the wear and tear of stress.
We mapped our relationship energy.
We weaponized the opposite signal strategy against our own urge to isolate, and we exposed the myth of the private manifester. We realized that community is not a distraction from our manifestation goals. Community is the exact physical channel through which the universe delivers the manifestation.
And this brings our entire mini-arc on disconnection to its ultimate conclusion. Over the course of these deep dives, we have journeyed from diagnosing the crisis of fragmented attention to rebuilding the capacity for deep presence.
We explored the absolute necessity of emotional safety.
We navigated the treacherous waters of the modern trust recession, and it has all culminated right here, today, in this foundational truth. Beneath the relentless anxiety, beneath the cultural obsession with the solo hustle, what we are fundamentally missing as a species is the warmth of a meaningful community.
If you take absolutely nothing else away from our time together today, let it be this crystallized thought: you do not need a larger audience watching your life. You desperately need the right circle of people helping you actually live it.
So, your call to action, the physical step you must take before you go to sleep tonight, is to strengthen one single thread. Do not wait for a burst of extroverted inspiration. The inspiration comes after the action.
Send the text.
Ask the deeper, more honest, understanding question, or offer one highly specific, tangible act of care to someone residing in your outer or middle circle. Plant the seed today and give it a full year to take root and grow. Real load-bearing community is not a life hack. It is a slow biological cultivation.
We want to hear how this is shifting your reality. Jump into the comments on whatever platform you are streaming this from and answer this. What is one small, specific circle of people that has fundamentally altered the trajectory of your life? And as always, make sure you are subscribed to the Vibe Letter, because we will be sending all of today's deep dive journaling prompts along with the energy map template straight to your inbox this afternoon.
Before we officially sign off, though, I know you had one final thought you wanted to leave everyone with.
Yeah, I want to leave you with one final expansive thought to chew on. We have spent this entire session talking about human biology, psychology, and the mechanics of the brain. But I want you to zoom out for a second and look at the architecture of the universe itself.
Oh, this is the macro view.
Exactly. Look at the physical cosmos. From the massive gravitational pull of planets perfectly keeping entire solar systems in a delicate suspended balance, to the invisible, microscopic mycelial networks communicating and sharing nutrients beneath the soil of an old-growth forest, the entire universe is one massive, infinitely interwoven web of relationships.
Nothing exists alone.
Nothing in the natural world exists in true, independent isolation. A redwood tree does not grow in a vacuum. Its roots are braided with the trees next to it. A star does not ignite without the immense friction and collapse of surrounding gas and dust.
So when we isolate,
Therefore, when you finally make the terrifying decision to lower your armor, to stop curving inward, and to open yourself up to a community, you aren't just improving your social life. You are literally aligning your personal micro-human biology with the fundamental macroecology of the universe itself. Manifestation is not a solo magic trick. Manifestation is simply participating in the cosmic web.
that is the perfect poetic echo of the historical barn raising we started with. Picture yourself standing in that freezing, empty field one last time. You are staring at a blueprint, a dream for your future that feels impossibly heavy for your own two hands.
And then through the mist, you hear the footsteps.
The wagons arrive, the people arrive, they bring the tools you lack, they bring the physical strength you have exhausted, they bring the warmth, and above all, they bring the belief. The structure rises against the sky, and it doesn't rise because you finally admitted you were weak. It rises because the dream, from its very inception, always required a circle.
You are fundamentally allowed to desire support.
You are allowed to take up the space required to be deeply understood.
You are allowed to let the architecture of your life become far less lonely.
You do not have to manifest your life alone. We will see you next time.